Hello, my name is Dr. Melissa Sanford, and I'm the administrator at Child of God Lutheran School in St. Peters, Missouri, and the NLSA Commissioner for the Missouri District. It is my privilege to present Standard 5, Teaching and Learning. There are three things I'd like to highlight with regard to required evidence. In the first checkbox, required evidence that curriculum documentation is developed and implemented for every grade level across all subject areas. In general, what a team should be looking for is a well thought out, planned, and used or living instructional program. It's not just your textbooks or other resource materials a school uses, nor is it a printed out scope and sequence from a textbook or a copy of the state standards. The plan is not in a binder on a shelf or a rarely opened up dry folder. It is a living, applicable document which faculty use on a regular basis. The key to understanding curriculum is the planned element. Each school must identify the instructional model to follow, content to be utilized, and student outcomes to be realized, all resulting in the planned instructional program that is implemented on a daily basis. Again, what is a school validation team to be looking for? Again, the key is a planned program that is well documented and student outcomes driven. A quality school places a high priority on the continuous development of its instructional program and the documentation that guides that program. Additionally, the planned program would be reviewed on a well-defined cycle to keep it effective and applicable. In our Lutheran schools, the curricular plan must not only contain academic and developmental goals, but address the spiritual formation of goals and faith integration. Effective curriculum is also sensitive to individual developmental variation and improves challenging experiences that lead to growth. It is designed to meet the needs of students as they matriculate to each new level of education, and the implementation of the curriculum is aware of the individual variations and the characteristics of the learner, including our early childhood learners. The second item I want to point your attention to is under required evidence, and it's the third checkbox concerning minutes of instruction. Here, schools are required to provide a chart of instruction illustrating three things: the semester and or yearly instructional minutes of all content offered, percentage of each school week allocated to each subject or activity at each level, and a comparison to state guidelines. It's something to note that if your state does not have minutes of instruction guidelines, the school still needs to provide all the other information, and just simply note that there are no state requirements. The third required evidence I want to point out is the last checkbox regarding analysis of standardized tests. It is required that student achievement for grades 3rd and up be regularly analyzed, and trend data of student performance be utilized in evaluating the school's effectiveness. A minimum of 3 years of analysis is required as evidence. The documentation should include how the information is used to evaluate and improve student learning. For example, are the results part of regular teacher meetings? Do they inform vertical and horizontal planning? Do the results impact curricular resource reviews? Now that I've highlighted a few areas to pay attention to under required evidence, I want to take one more minute to draw out something under general indicators of success that sometimes trips teams up. In Standard 507, it states technology enhances and enriches student learning environment. Well, how do you know what practices, procedures, and evidence to look for? Who can speak to this? What I suggest is to look for the following. Look for documentation or interview staff on the training or the grade level meetings to help ensure appropriate digital training, planning, and adoption of technology. Did you observe any quality digital use in a classroom? Now, digital use is not the use of a teacher PowerPoint. Look for ways technology resources are enhancing student learning and problem solving. Some examples of ed tech may include micro-learning, gamification, AI, augmented or virtual reality. If you didn't observe it, interview students, parents, teachers, check the surveys. Make sure you also check for safety protocols, monitoring and filtering to make sure that those are in place as well. One last thought for Standard 5. As you go over the documentation and observe classrooms and interview the stakeholders, you want to remember your job is not to evaluate teacher effectiveness, but rather to validate what is written in the self-study document. I think everything else is pretty straightforward for Standard 5. But of course, if you have any questions, your district office or the school ministry office is always here to help. Thank you so much for serving. God's blessings on your school year.